Alright guys, Levi Trumbull here. This is going to be the part 2 to the video that we just put out a moment ago. Right here, this is hot off the press. This was just filed last night. Let's get the time correct. At 9:14 last night on August 24th. So this just hit the court system, as you already know. This is going to be the application for statement of charges as it relates to Boise Neal, who is charged with murder as it relates to the Shawn Hall case, the 59-year-old man from Hagerstown. I have taken a moment to read this document to myself briefly, and now I want to bring it to the audience. So here you are about to see for the first time the case that the state of Maryland is going to put on against Boise Neal. Again, this is the man, 57 years old, who is alleged to have murdered Shawn Hall. So we're going to start off right here. As you can see, state of Maryland versus Boise Neal. Case number at the top. Some of his descriptions right here. Date of birth, height, hair, eyes. Just sort of general descriptive information about the defendant. As you can see right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 charges. We have murder in the first degree, murder in the second degree, manslaughter and assault, both in first and second degree. Obviously, this is going to be a case where if he is convicted, Boise Neal will be spending the rest of his life in prison. So as you can see, like we already mentioned earlier, this is hot off the press, filed 9:14 p.m. last night. So now we are going to get into the statement of probable cause, and it reads as follows. On June 1st, 2023, Shawn Eric Hall, date of birth 11/11/1963, was reported missing through the Hagerstown Police Department. Officer Main of the HPD checked calls for service to Hall's address, identified as 145 Brynwood Street. Officer Main located 7 calls for service from May 29, 2023 to June 1, 2023, requesting welfare checks on Hall. One of the welfare checks was requested by Hall's employer, Tractor Supply, who advised Hall did not show up for work as scheduled. Officer Main contacted one of the callers identified as Christopher Lomax, who is a roommate with Hall. Lomax stated he was attempting to report Hall missing as well. Lomax stated he last spoke to Hall via telephone on May 28, 2023, at approximately 1,000 hours. Officer Nichols responded to 145 Brynwood Street and observed the garage door open, but no sign of Hall or his vehicle. Officer Nichols located Hall's driver's license in a closet within the residence. Several neighbors in the area stated to officers that they remember seeing Hall during the afternoon of May 28, 2023, cutting his grass. Another neighbor stated to officers that they remember seeing Hall leaving in a hurry in his red Ford Fusion at approximately 22:30 hours. Detective Weaver submitted an exigent, I don't know how to say that word, request to AT&T to obtain the call detail records for Hall's telephone number identified as 304-482-8110. Detective Weaver mapped the CDRs through Cellhawk mapping software and concluded that Hall left Hagerstown on the night of May 28, 2023, at approximately 23:50 hours and drove to Upper Marlboro, Maryland. The records indicate that Hall arrived at Upper Marlboro, Prince George's County, shortly after 0100 hours and remained in the area for over 3 hours. Hall's cell phone pinged from a tower east of the 13300 block of Old Marlboro Pike at 0428 hours. Hall's cell phone pinged again at 0435 hours west of the 13300 block of Old Marlboro Pike. This was the last data received from Hall's cell phone. Detectives later discovered that Hall used his bank card at Sheet's gas station in Hagerstown on the way to Upper Marlboro. A review of video footage at Sheet's revealed that Hall was wearing glasses, a dark blue t-shirt, dark blue jeans, and sandals at the time. Detective Weaver and Detective Dietz responded to Upper Marlboro to canvass the area in an attempt to locate Hall's red Ford Fusion. Detective Weaver and Dietz made contact with the Upper Marlboro PD and spoke to Detective Johnson and Sergeant Irby. Sergeant Irby escorted HPD detectives around the area where vehicles are commonly abandoned. Hall's red Ford Fusion was not located. Detective Weaver made contact with Detective Robinson from Prince George's County Police for assistance. Detective Robinson was able to check the tag number for Hall's Ford Fusion through their license tag reader, or LPR. Detective Robinson located the vehicle in the area of 3905 Southern Avenue, Suitland, Maryland, and secured it until it could be towed back to Hagerstown. The red Ford Fusion was towed back to the Hagerstown Police Department and processed by the Western Maryland Crime Lab. The Ford Fusion was observed to be fairly clean inside, but the trunk was an area of interest. The entire floor carpet was removed from the trunk, and a large butcher knife, approximately 8 inches in length, was located on the frame of the trunk. The entire vehicle was processed for blood and latent prints. No blood was observed within the interior of the vehicle, and several latent prints were recovered from the exterior of the vehicle. Through interviews with family and close friends of Hall, police learned that Hall was previously a prison chaplain and became friends with an inmate identified as Boise Oshie, who was always referred to as Boise. Around 2019, allegations arose that Hall was having inappropriate relations with male inmates and was ultimately terminated from his work at the prison. Christopher Lomax stated that Boise told him that while in prison, he would, quote, look after Hall like his protector. Lomax stated that Boise was released from prison. He and Hall became, quote, business partners and were starting a vehicle transporting business. Detective Weaver checked Boise through law enforcement databases, and he was positively identified as Boise Laverne Neal. Detective Weaver kept in constant communication with Hall's son, Wesley, and his sister, Sherry. The sister advised she retrieved Hall's laptop from his residence and took it back to her house in West Virginia. Maston began going through the laptop and noticed multiple bank card charges to several businesses in and around Upper Marlboro, Prince George's County, Anne Arundel County, Baltimore County, and Washington, D.C. after Hall went missing. The bank card used in those transactions is identified by the last 4 digits, and I redacted those. Detective Weaver contacted Detective Gass with the Anne Arundel County Police Department regarding a local liquor store identified as JP Liquor Fair. Hall's bank card was used there 12 times within the 7 days following Hall's disappearance. Detective Gass was able to retrieve camera footage from the liquor store and provided it to Detective Weaver. Detective Weaver reviewed the camera footage and observed a black male and a black female using Hall's bank card. Detective Weaver was able to compare pictures provided by Hall's family of Boise Neal to the camera footage from the liquor store. Detective Weaver was able to positively identify the black male as Boise Neal. The female in the camera footage was identified as Boise's girlfriend, Sandra Denise Taylor. Taylor was identified due to being listed as Neal's girlfriend and as an emergency contact in Neal's parole and probation records. During the course of the investigation, Sherry Maston continued searching Hall's laptop and noticed that at approximately 11:45 p.m. on 5/28/23, Hall received a call from Neal's phone number, which he communicated with multiple times afterward. Additionally, Hall searched for directions to 13308 Old Marlboro Pike in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. Detective Weaver checked that address through Google Maps and confirmed that the address was located between the two cell towers that the last pings on Hall's cell phone came from at 0428 and 0435 hours on 5/29/23. It should be noted that Hall used Google Maps with the same address on his cell phone after he left Hagerstown on 5/28/23 en route to Upper Marlboro, Maryland. It should also be noted that the business located at that address was identified as Jones and McGee Trucking, which is a vehicle rental and transportation company. This coincides with the business Hall and Neal were starting. Through the course of the investigation, Detective Weaver received information from several family members and friends of Hall. Detective Weaver was made aware that Hall had a second vehicle registered to him. The vehicle was identified as a 2021 white Dodge Ram 3500 bearing Maryland registration plates 8FH 9801. This pickup truck was supposedly purchased for the vehicle transport business that Hall and Neal had started. According to family members, the vehicle cost approximately $80,000 with a monthly payment of $1,800. Hall's family stated that this purchase was considerably more than Hall could afford, and they believe Boise Neal convinced Hall to purchase this vehicle for the business. Family and friends advised that they never saw Hall drive the truck, and it was primarily used by Boise Neal. On June 26, 2023, Detective Wheeler received information that the Dodge Ram had been repossessed due to missed payments. Detective Weaver was able to track down the location of the Dodge Ram to AMG Recovery Service located in Glen Burnie, Maryland. On July 6, 2023, Detective Weaver and Detective Ackerman responded to AMG Recovery Service to process the Dodge Ram. Detective Weaver made contact with the owner of the business, who provided a copy of the repossession order. The order identified the owner as Shawn Hall, with an address of 52 Glen Ridge Road, Glen Burnie, Maryland. Detective Weaver knew that Hall never lived in Glen Burnie. The owner also stated that 52 Glen Ridge Road was the address where the Dodge Ram was located and repossessed. While processing the Dodge Ram, Detective Weaver located a proprietary document addressed to Boise Oshie, Boise Neal, of 52 Glen Ridge Road in Glen Burnie, Maryland. Detectives also located 3 receipts dated after Hall's disappearance, using the same bank card Neal was observed using at JP Liquor Fair in Glen Burnie. Detectives also located the Maryland registration certificate identifying Shawn Hall as the only registered owner, which showed his actual address of 145 Brynwood Street, Hagerstown, Maryland. Additionally, Hall's sister, Sherry Maston, advised Detective Weaver that she received multiple parking tickets incurred by the Dodge Ram in Washington, D.C. Of note, these parking tickets were incurred by the Dodge Ram only a few blocks from where Hall's Ford Fusion was recovered with carpet removed. As the investigation continued, detectives located video footage from a store on Old Marlboro Pike, which showed Hall's red Ford Fusion arriving and parking in the parking lot momentarily on 5/29/2023. During that time, investigators could see that the vehicle appeared to be occupied by only the driver, who appeared to be a white male. Investigators also recovered motion-activated video from a residence near 13308 Old Marlboro Pike. This video showed that at approximately 1:27 a.m. on 5/29/2023, there was a sedan with lights on waiting by the gate to the parking lot of 13308 Old Marlboro Pike. The motion activation means there are gaps in the video that are not recorded. At approximately 2:22 a.m. on 5/29/2023, a white pickup truck consistent in appearance with the aforementioned Dodge Ram is seen inside the parking lot that was not previously there. Investigators believe that Neal arrived in the white pickup truck to meet Hall, who drove the red Ford Fusion. The phone records for both Hall and Neal show them both in the area of 13308 Old Marlboro Pike, Upper Marlboro, Prince George's County at the time. At approximately 4:05 a.m. on 5/29/2023, the sedan is viewed parked next to the truck with the lights on and angled towards the exit of the parking lot. The driver exits the sedan, leaves it idling, enters the white pickup truck, and parks it. This individual then exits the driver's side of the pickup truck and can be heard audibly locking the vehicle before the video cuts off. Phone records show that the last outgoing call from Hall's phone was at 2:36 a.m. on May 29, 2023 to 202-699-9556, which law enforcement databases show is registered to Enoch Melson. Don't know how to say that name. We'll just call him Melson. And operated by T-Mobile. This phone number did not appear in the rest of Hall's records. However, the number did appear multiple times in Neal's records. Detectives located a social media account for Melson, which showed videos of him and Neal. Of note, after Hall went missing, Neal and Melson both discontinued service to their phone numbers and obtained new numbers. Additionally, law enforcement databases show that the address associated with Melson's phone number is 3952 Suitland Road, Suitland, Maryland. This address is approximately 620 feet, as measured by Google Maps, away from 3905 Southern Avenue, where Hall's red Ford Fusion was found with the carpet removed from its trunk and a knife inside. Of note, after Hall traveled to the 13308 Old Marlboro Pike to meet Neal, no evidence of life has been found, despite extensive efforts by investigators and family members. As a result, based on the cumulative facts of the case, the evidence indicates that Neal killed Hall in the area of 13308 Old Marlboro Pike, and that he used Hall's phone to call Melson to assist in disposing of the body and vehicle, which was later found near Melson's residence. On August 23rd, 2023, detectives located Neal and Taylor residing at the extended stay motel located at 104 Chesapeake Center Court, Room 100, Glen Burnie, Anne Arundel County, Maryland. Detectives executed a District Court of Maryland search warrant at that address and transported Neal and Taylor to the Prince George's County Major Crimes Division at 8803 Police Plaza, Upper Marlboro, Maryland, 20772 to be interviewed. Remember that Taylor is the girlfriend. After waiving his Miranda rights, Neal initially stated that the last time he saw Hall was approximately a week before Hall went missing, and that Hall had given him the bank card he used after Hall's disappearance in April 2023. Neal also denied being familiar with Old Marlboro Pike, the area he and Hall met on May 29, 2023, before Hall disappeared. During the course of the interview, Neal changed his story multiple times and stated that he took Hall's bank card from Hall's house the day after Hall went missing. Hall was seen using the card on the night of May 28, 2023, eliminating the possibility that Neal took it in April. Additionally, Neal could not have obtained the bank card from Hall's house after Hall went missing because Hall never returned to his house after meeting with Neal. Eventually, Neal admitted that he had met Hall in the parking lot at 13308 Old Marlboro Pike, Upper Marlboro, Prince George's County, Maryland, in the early hours of May 29, 2023, and that they had been drinking in Hall's Ford Fusion. Detectives also interviewed Taylor, again, this is the girlfriend of Boise Neal, who stated that approximately 10 days after Hall was reported missing, Neal had told her that he had hurt Hall and could not tell her information. Taylor signed consent to search her cell phone, and investigators discovered messages with Neal's phone number 443-500-2728 on May 29, 2023, the same morning that Hall met Neal. At approximately 4 a.m., Taylor messaged Neal, saying, quote, "Please tell me you're okay." Neal responded, "Yes, it's done." Taylor responded, "I hear that feeling." Neal responded, "He tried to tell on me before I caught him. I had no choice. I am a very bad man." Taylor then said, "I just want you home. You had no choice." When confronted with this information, Taylor advised detectives that Neal called her and disclosed that he killed Hall. Following the interviews, detectives located the skeletal remains of a human with clothing consistent with the clothing that Hall was last seen wearing approximately 20 feet from a fence bordering the property of 13308 Old Marlboro Pike. This was the location that Hall and Neal met before Hall was killed. The remains appeared to have duct tape attached to the skull. The manner of death is expected to be ruled homicide. Based on this investigation, the evidence indicates that Neal met Hall at 13308 Old Marlboro Pike, Upper Marlboro, Maryland, on May 29, 2023. After meeting Hall, Neal killed him, stole his bank card, and disposed of his remains nearby. All of the above events occurred in Prince George's County, Maryland. And this is signed Kenneth Smith, the arresting officer. And guys, that right there is the affidavit for probable cause as it relates to Boise Neal. I read it to you. That's every word. This just hit the court system literally within the past 12 hours. And those are the facts laid out against Boise Neal, who as of today is being held in a Prince George's County jail without bond. This is the information that the state of Maryland will presumably be putting forward to a jury in a criminal courtroom in PG County, Maryland, to put Boise Neal in prison for the rest of his life. Boise Neal did a significant sentence for armed robbery. He got out of jail, was out of jail for a couple years, and is now back incarcerated on murder in the first degree charges. These are the allegations, and I thought it was very important to bring them in full. We have had so many questions about this case, and with this document right here, we now have answers. All of this is now clarified, and I hope that this video was useful. Levi Trumbull in Frederick County. We'll catch you guys soon. Thanks for watching this video.